Hi, and welcome back to this Free-for-All Friday edition of Focal Point, AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name, your congenial, convivial, and amiable host. Great to have you in the conversation on this Free-for-All Friday. I want to begin by playing a soundbite. This is an excerpt from the third undercover video that LiveAction Films with Lila Rose has released to the public this week. These are undercover videos, again, perfectly legal. In the states where they recorded these, New York, and the one from today is in Arizona, the state law permits recording of conversations as long as one person is aware that the recording is taking place. So there's nothing illegal about these recordings. Now, in most states, I think in every state, if neither party is aware that the conversation is being taped, that's eavesdropping, that's illegal. But it is perfectly legal to do what Lila Rose and LiveAction Films did, and she is with us now on our decision maker line. Lila Rose is the founder of LiveAction. She's the president of LiveAction and LiveAction Films. Lila, welcome back to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's terrific to have you with us again, Lila. I'm just setting up a soundbite I want to play here from your latest video expose from the Phoenix area. And again, I was just explaining to our listening audience about the legalities of all this, because obviously the clinic workers, the doctors and counselors, are not aware that they're being taped. But what you were doing, and we just want to make this clear, is perfectly legal.
Exactly. I mean, what we're doing here is what journalists have been doing for many years before we started doing it. We didn't invent the undercover method of journalism. It's been done for years. You know, Dateline, NBC's To Catch a Predator, these are all other shows that have been doing this and working with law enforcement to help bring justice to criminal acts and to other, illicit activity, and that's exactly what LiveAction is doing. You know,
and it's interesting that when CBS does an expose and cars blow up or brakes fail or something like that, the left talks about the marvelous work that CBS is doing in undercover investigative journalism, and then they land on you like a falling safe for doing exactly the same thing.
Right, and I think a lot of it, Brian, is a distraction from the truth that's coming out. So there's a trick. I think we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes by focusing too much on the method as opposed to the truth that's being revealed, and that's where we're changing people's hearts and minds. I mean, the public is shocked and horrified by the testimony coming out of the abortion industry. That's what we're coming out with, and I think that's the power here, is that showing people what happens to a child during an abortion and how this is a brutal and inhuman act against a little baby, and that's why we're saying we have to put an end to this practice.
Now, talk to us just for a moment. We're going to play the excerpt, just one excerpt. It's about an 8-minute video from the Phoenix undercover video. And we've played sound bites from the first two videos that you revealed, the first two video segments that you revealed. But tell us briefly what some of the highlight content, well, they're not highlights, they're lowlights, but some of the significant moments from the first two investigative videos that you released.
Sure. Well, there are 3 videos out so far now from D.C. and the Bronx, and from Phoenix, Arizona. And in D.C. and the Bronx, these videos, first of all, the abortion procedure is described, and it's very graphic, but this is what they say. The children are either, their umbilical cords are cut, and these are 23-week-old babies old enough to survive outside the womb. Their umbilical cords are cut, and so they're asphyxiating inside the womb. They're basically suffocating to death. And the abortionist says, I wait for the baby to stop pulsing, so it stops moving, and then he delivers a dead baby. In the other clinic, they say that they use a suction machine and forceps to basically pull out pieces of the baby one by one, ripping it apart. It will probably die from the trauma of that and from blood loss. But then it goes on to say that, if the baby were to come out alive, they would also not help the child, or they would kill it. And even though they're legally required by law to protect these infants that survive abortion attempts, they go on to say that they would leave the baby to die, or that they would put the baby, this breathing, helpless child, in a jar of toxic solution so that it drowns to death, or they would let it alone in the clinic room so that it would not be intubated and it would die on its own.
And one of the clinic workers, as I remember, said to this mom, or the woman pretending to be an expectant mother, is if the baby comes out whole, it's alive, we're not going to resuscitate it, because at the age the baby is, 23, 24 weeks, we can actually do the baby a disservice. It'd be better to let it die, because it's only got a 20 to 30% chance of living if we do everything we can.
Yeah, well, a couple things. First off, babies survive all the time. A baby has survived as early as 21 weeks and 6 days. Medical technology is amazing, and these children can survive outside the womb, sometimes without even intubation, sometimes without even the medical assistance that can help them. The other thing is these women that went into the clinics, they're actually pregnant. Our investigators were very brave women. They were 23 to 26 weeks pregnant, and they went in there just to inquire, just to ask these questions about what happens to their babies during abortion, the risks of it, and what would happen if a child survives the abortion attempt, and the brutality and even the outright lies that are told to our investigators. You know, one of the workers, the abortionist herself in Phoenix, Arizona, told our investigator that the baby doesn't even really have a face yet. And this is a baby at almost 24 weeks. The whole body is formed. You can see this little baby. It's maybe as big as your hand, about a pound and a half. But that baby is perfectly and beautifully formed. It's very delicate because it's very small and needs more time to grow and to get bigger. But that baby is fully formed. That baby is fully formed even by the end of the first trimester. All the internal organs are present.
You know, and one thing was striking to me, Lila, and people need to go and see the video at Live Action. You can go see the video for yourself. But one of the things very powerful in the video presentation, Lila, is that when the clinic worker was talking about the fact that the baby doesn't even have a face, you inserted in the video photographs of babies at that same stage of development. They've got a face. That's a baby.
Exactly. And that's where let the ignorance end with the truth. And what we're seeing with these pictures and even in these conversations is the lies about, fetal development, the child in the womb, and the lies about abortion and the abortion procedure. And you know what? This is how abortion has been justified in our country. So-called feminists and abortion, so-called women's advocates have claimed that abortion doesn't kill a baby, which is an outright lie, and they've claimed that somehow abortion is going to, empower women. But it does not empower women to do walking into an abortion clinic. No woman wakes up and says, I want to go into an abortion clinic. They're in a position of powerlessness when they subject themselves to butchers like Gosnell or to this abortionist in D.C., Santangelo, or any of these abortionists. Women have been told that abortion will somehow help them achieve their dreams and pursue their careers, but abortion, women shouldn't have to kill their children to pursue their dreams. And that is one of the biggest lies in the last 40 years. And that's the lie that is suddenly, or at least in this moment, it's emerging as, the truth is emerging, which is that abortion is degrading to women. It's a debasement of a woman, and it's an attack on our weakest children.
Lila, I want to play one soundbite from the latest video that you have released. I was struck watching this video this morning as I was preparing it for broadcast that at one point, I don't think it's in the clip that I selected, but at one point, I don't know if it's the doctor or the clinic worker, the counselor, actually slips and uses the word baby. It really jumped out to me.
So they accidentally call these children babies.
Yeah,
that's what they are.
You catch them off guard, and the truth just slips right out. Now let's set this video up. The question they're talking about is the use of digoxin. And set us up very quickly because the question that your undercover investigator asks is, what if they don't use digoxin? So tell us what digoxin does and set up the clip for us.
Sure. This is a video from Phoenix, Arizona. This is a National Abortion Federation clinic. There's actually 4 abortionists that work here. The abortionist on the tape is Dr. Laura Mercer, and she says that the way that they kill the baby is by puncturing the baby's chest with a needle to insert, in through the mother's abdomen into the amniotic fluid sac, puncturing the baby's little chest cavity, inserting poison into the baby's heart. And then she goes on to say that the woman, our investigator, should not call the hospital or 911 if she's going into labor prematurely, because again, they're inducing labor because they have to get the dead body of the baby out, or they have to, remove the child. And so sometimes, the child can come out alive before they've had a chance to kill it. And so in this case, the abortionist is saying, don't go to the hospital because they'll do all these crazy things to you that you don't want done to you to basically protect your child. So what she's really saying, what the reading between the lines is, if you come to our clinic and deliver the live baby, we'll take care of it. The hospital will try to intubate and do all these things, but we'll make sure that the baby does not survive. And then the nurse, who our investigator talks to next, Nurse Linda, she says that they do not resuscitate children that survive abortion attempts.
Well, let's listen to this exchange. This is the investigator beginning with the question to the counselor, what if they don't use the digoxin. Let's listen.
They don't do the digoxin, they'll just suction the baby, and it's possible that there may be movement as they're taking out the fetus.
Like movement after?
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens?
Well, then usually it stops on its own.
Okay. So if they use the
Digoxin?
no, what did you say, suction?
Uh-huh.
So if they use the suction, then there's possible movement when it comes out.
Yeah, and sometimes after...
Is it alive or?
Sometimes they are, yeah. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it will come out whole, because they use suction, plus they use instruments, and sometimes the fetuses don't come out, that's not complete.
Okay.
So,
but if it does come out whole,
mm-hmm.
I mean, will they resuscitate it? Like, will I have to take care of it?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, but the digoxin is probably the best thing for it. That way
Okay.
there's no suffering. Okay?
Okay.
Several things strike me, Lila, listen to that. This business about that way there's no suffering. I mean, she's admitting that the baby suffers, and this is a way to keep the baby from suffering during the abortion procedure.
Well, and that's a lie, Brian, that the woman is telling people, because when you jab a needle into the tiny beating chest, the chest cavity of a baby, piercing through its ribs, into its body, into its heart, to put poison into its heart, that death process can take up to half an hour. That's torturous. So even their quote-unquote humane form of abortion is violent, barbaric, savage, torturous. I mean, the other way that they kill these children is to rip them limb from limb, and sometimes they have to do both, frankly, because, when they kill the child in order to get it out of the mother's uterus, it's not ready to be born yet, right? It had a few more, a couple more months left to develop and to grow. They have to sometimes go in with forceps to rip that baby out piece by piece. That's the way abortion is done in America, and either way are brutal and inhuman practices to kill that baby.
Our guest has been Live Action President Lila Rose, releasing this week 3 explosive undercover videos exposing the barbaric and savage practice of abortion as it's being carried out in the United States, making it very clear that Kermit Gosnell is not, in fact, an outlier. What he does in his clinic, far more common than anybody realizes, and we have Live Action and Lila Rose to thank for that. Lila, God bless your continued work, and thank you for taking time to chat with us today.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Lila Rose, Live Action Films. We'll be right back with your calls and more when we come back. Focal Point AFR Talk.